Hi, everybody. This is Angel Arts, and welcome to yet another interview for my upcoming Pokemon tabletop campaign. I am here with, is it Let's Alex Plays? Is it Alex Plays?
It's Alex. It's just Alex. Just
Alex.
keep it simple.
We're just going to keep it simple. We're going to call it Alex. So, Alex is here today, and we're going to take some time to get to know him. So,
hmm
Alex, the first question I'm going to ask you is what is it specifically about Pokemon, the universe, the franchise? What is it about Pokemon that you're passionate about?
Well, you see, the thing is, I'm what you would call a first generation Pokemon fan. When I was young, the whole Pokemon franchise literally just started, and I have been following closely ever since the first generation, all the way up to now. The only games from the Pokemon franchise that I wasn't able to play so far were the XY and the Sun Moon. Well, and I guess the Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby because I do not own a 3DS. But all the other ones I've played and I've finished, and it was always this experience. It's just amazing. And I've just loved it since the first day. So it has been like what? Oh goodness gracious! It was like almost 20 years now, I think, and it just hasn't let up. It's still there, the passion.
What can you give me something specific about the franchise, about the concept behind the game or the franchise that you really like?
It's the story, really.
The
This the
story.
story the story of this kind of unknown youth going out on an adventure and the whole the size of this adventure in itself, the whole story, it was just always so absolutely amazing. And same in the games as in the animation. It was just I just loved it. I kept thinking, oh my god, I wish I could be there.
Mm-hmm.
I I wanted to be in the Pokemon world. It
Mm.
was just, yeah, it was a passion at first sight, really.
Very cool. Awesome, awesome. I'm definitely very much appreciative of people who are passionate about it because hopefully that means I'll have fun with this campaign. So,
hmm
my second question is, what is it about tabletop gaming that you are passionate about?
Actually, I'm relatively new to tabletop gaming. I've always heard about it, but I was kind of reluctant to try it myself because I knew that there was a lot of rules involved, like all of those thick handbooks. And only recently, and by recently I mean like 1.5 years ago, I actually dived into Pathfinder first and also currently into 5e. And I kind of just overcame this fear. I realized that it's not that difficult actually. So I just got into it really.
Mhm.
It was hook, line, and sinker.
What do you believe makes you a good player, would make you a good player to play with?
I would say it's because actually am I'm a good team player, mostly. Because in my previous tabletop campaigns, I just automatically kind of slipped into the support role. I was there to support the rest of the group, the rest of the players, and that kind of just evolved this teamwork in me, which I didn't even know that I had previously. So I think this would be it, my ability to actually fit into a team and to adapt to the team.
What do you think would be your biggest challenge as a player?
Mm,
And some thoughts on how you think you might try to overcome this challenge as a player.
I I don't really have much experience with actual role play.
Hmm.
So I would actually have to really give my best in order to make my character, as a player, make my character interesting
Hmm.
and not just seem, like dull. So this would actually be a challenge because my previous campaigns that I played, they were mostly like combat oriented, and
Hmm.
you did say in your introduction video to the campaign that it would be more roleplay oriented. So this is definitely a point where I would have to put an extra effort.
Because part of this campaign will have you not only role play a human character, but also a Pokemon.
Yes.
My question is, if you could be any Pokemon, we'll simplify it a little bit by saying non-legendary. If you could
Hmm.
be any non-legendary Pokemon in the Pokemon universe, what Pokemon would you say you would want to be?
Vaporeon.
Vaporeon. Okay. Why
Vaporeon,
do you think
yes.
why Vaporeon? I'm curious.
Vaporeon because actually I consider myself a rather icy person. I know it might sound weird, but I'm usually not very social, and I usually tend to, when I interact with other people, I sometimes tend to be a bit on the colder side, actually.
Okay.
So this is also possibly a challenge I will have to overcome in this campaign if I get picked. Actually getting to, you know, just interact with all those new people.
Yeah.
So yes, but I'm basically an ice type.
Okay. Fair enough. Wonderful.
I mean, I could also say that I'm Jinx because that face.
There. Yes. So now we're going to move on to the in character portion. And have you thought about what job or program you think Mark would try to apply for?
Of course, after his studies, as mentioned
Hmm.
in my audition video, which was botany, he wouldn't be picky exactly. He would pretty much pick any job that he felt he could cope with and which would bring him enough money to come by. So,
Hmm.
as I said, he already in the introduction video, he used to work in a Pokemart.
Hmm.
So, basically, stuff like that, even just my goodness, daycare jobs or anything really, as long as he felt confident that he could do the job, get it done, and get it done well, and
Okay.
well, get paid, because he's not, money. Just he's sometimes about that money.
Is there a job that you think would fit his botanist interest? Is there a specific job that you think where his botany might be useful?
Yes, certainly. I mean, with his botany skill, he could certainly become a good gardener.
Okay.
As some
Okay.
people actually care not only about pretty looking gardens, but also about functional gardens, growing
Okay.
herbs, and all those things.
Would you? Okay. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we pretend that you are applying for a job as a landscaper?
Hmm.
So let's say that Mark is has to go through this a hiring agency, and you'll go through the double doors, and the hiring agency is very well kept, is very clean, very sterile. It might
Hmm.
not. But it still probably has a lot of pictures on the walls, a lot of bulletin boards like wanted, like help wanted, and
Yes.
you have your application that you probably first found online. You get into the line, there's somebody like at a desk or something that will be able to take your papers, and the gentleman there says, all right, I see that you're applying for the landscaping job. All right. He takes a big stamp and he stamps it, says, take this over to room 797, and we will begin the required screening process. It's something that we decided to start doing lately. Hopefully, you'll find it to be a unique experience.
Yeah, thank you very much. I probably will. Have a nice day.
He said, "You're very welcome." And you see on your papers that he stamped that the screening, the lady who's going to be in charge of screening you is a woman by the name of Madame Vu. VU, Madame Vu. And you go you pass by a few of the doors, and then you open a door that almost looks like it's the door into like the janitor's closet. In fact, you can kind of see that there's like an indentation where it clearly shows that this used to be the janitor's closet, but they ended up, I guess, changing it into something else. So you open the door, and when you enter the door, you start to smell incense. Like the incense start to invade your nostrils, and you're like, okay, this is kind of weird. And right in front of you is a beaded curtain. It's a beaded curtain, and you can hear like some very weird, like music, like mellow music coming from the other side of the room. What do you do?
I part the curtain and take a cautious step inside, curiously looking around, looking for this Madame Vu, whoever she might be.
You part the beaded curtain, and again, to your surprise, you are shocked to see before you candles, and there's a big giant table with a crystal ball in the center. And seated behind the crystal ball is this woman, and she is dressed with a purple scarf around her head. I need to get into character now.
Oh
Um,
goodness.
she is dressed with this purple like scarf thing on her head, and she has her hands clasped with relatively long fingernails clasped, um, and she gives you a immediate smile. One of her teeth, I think, is golden with a golden tooth, and she says, "Welcome, welcome. You have entered into the chamber of Madame Vu, Deja'Vu, but you can call me Madame Vu," she says with a smile. "Please have a seat and your screening process can begin."
Well, of course, trying to stay as professional as he can, Mark just takes a seat and just puts his papers in front of him. So, Madame Vu, is it?
Yes. Hoyt, don't tell me. You are here for the landscaping job. Is that right?
That is, in fact, correct.
Ah,
Yes.
yes. Praise to the spirits. Praise to the ghosts of this world. They have not failed me yet. I am here to make sure that you are a good fit for this position. I know all, see all, and as long as you answered your questions truthfully, you have nothing to fear. I understand that this might be a little overwhelming, maybe a bit unorthodox for you, but all we want to do with this agency is to make sure that we hire the best fit. Is there any questions, darling?
None so far, ma'am.
She places her hand on her forehead, and then she starts to make these really weird noises. I see. I see you spending much time out into the wilds. The tall grass, of course, which, of course, for someone of your age is not unusual. But instead of using that time to look for Pokemon, you are actually paying more attention to the grass and the herbs itself. I take it you have an affinity for such things.
That would be correct, ma'am. I am a botany student, and actually, herbs as well as berries are my major.
Does the term repel mark ring a bell?
Yes.
A
Yes,
very
it does, ma'am.
unusual name. Repel Mark. I'm hoping that such a name doesn't imply anything that would cause you to repel any of your customers.
It does not, ma'am. I strictly use Repel to repel wild Pokemon as I travel in my studies.
Not that much of a fan of Pokemon, I see.
They do tend to be a nuisance when you just dive into the grass in order to search for herbs, yes. So sometimes you just need to, well, as you might presume, ma'am, just take a bit of a breather of them.
That is what you say. But for whatever reason, I see a very, very strong connection between you and a fire Pokemon waiting outside the door of this agency. Why is that? Especially for a
I
botanist like you, I would think a fire Pokemon might be a poor choice to have around.
I could not begin to tell you why this could be. I have to say this sounds rather unlikely.
You do realize, of course, common knowledge that plants, herbs, grass is weak against fire. I'm
But of
curious why
course.
someone as yourself, who seems to think of Pokemon as a nuisance, has allowed this Pokemon to continue following you.
Who knows? After all, you are the one with the crystal ball, madam. Why don't you tell me?
She says, "Ah ha ha. I know the circumstances of your meeting, but I wanted to hear from your own words what you say, so I can verify if you speak the truth."
Yes, madam, you are correct. There is a certain fire Pokemon that has been following me around recently. Let us just say that our meeting was rather unusual. I found him hurt in the wild. I was reluctant at first, but I decided that it was a problem if I just let it there to possibly perish. So I patched it up as best as I could, and as it didn't seem to do the job, I brought it to the nearest Pokemon Center and left it there in the care of the nurse. However, it appears that it somehow became attached and it's been following me around ever since. And eventually, I kind of just gave up on trying to chase it away, and we have kind of been stuck at this, let's call it, impasse ever since.
Despite your repel. Huh. Very interesting. So let me ask you this then. What role do you believe, if this Pokemon will continue to follow you and you've truly given up, as you say, on shooing him away, what role do you think he will play in this new job of yours should you get it?
Well, in fact, I'm actually. That is actually an interesting question. I have not given thought to it much yet, but now that you mention it, if I were to become a landscaper, I suppose other wild Pokemon might actually be troublesome at times, seeing as wild bug Pokemon might try to nibble on the trees that I'm supposed to be planting, or wild earth Pokemon might be digging in places they're not supposed to. So I suppose the little fuzzball that's waiting outside might actually be quite useful at, well, chasing them away, or at least keeping them out of the area I'm working on.
These questions that I'm asking you, I hope you understand, Repel Mark, are questions that your employer might be wondering. That's all. I'm just trying to make sure you have answers for said questions. And it seems like you have been able to answer them very well so far. Let me ask you this question then. I want to know what your response would be in your own words. What are you hoping that you personally will get out of a job like this?
Personally, I hope to gain more understanding on growing plants, on their habits, so to say. And personally, I also hope that this job will get me the experience needed that I will later need in the wild, since I do eventually intend to travel out in order to finish my project, my work project for my university, which would be berry research.
Those are all of my job specific questions. Now, if you will allow me, I would like to do a psychological exercise, if you will.
Very well, madame.
Are you familiar with the three tarot fortune, the three card fortune?
I am, in fact. I do remember reading about it randomly on some webpage. It was quite a while ago, though.
So you know that the premise is the person reading your fortune has a deck of tarot cards. She then pulls out three cards, one representing your past, one representing your present, and one representing your future. We, however, you and I are going to do a little bit of that in reverse. I have here a deck of cards, not your traditional tarot cards, and she gives you a deck of cards. Now, each card contains one of the types of Pokemon, one of the Pokemon types. I would like you, instead of drawing from this deck, I want you to look through the deck and pick out for me one card to represent your past, one card to represent your present, and one card to represent your future. Obviously, out of character, since there's only one copy of each card, you cannot do duplicate cards for past, present, or future. Talk through why you selected those cards as you do them.
Very well. The cards I pick are normal for my past, ice for my present, and fire for my future.
Please explain.
Normal for my past because in my past, during my university times, I was, for lack of a better word, plain. I didn't stand out much. Well, except for my notorious nickname. I was an average student at best, and also my background didn't really leave anything. It wasn't colorful at best, and in my present, I would describe myself as ice, cold, repulsing, making people, well, more or less stay away unless you're accustomed to it. As for my future, fire, because this is something that I desire, something that I desire to become passionate about anything, really. So the fire represents my desire to develop a passion for anything, really.
Ha 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 ha! She says, your answers please me. She says, you might consider doing a job like this on the side. You're pretty good about interpreting these cards. Very well. The assessment is done. I believe that with that, your screening process shows that you can be moved on to the next level. The final thing that we want you to do, as you go outside, go over next door, and we will have a camera set up. Speak directly to the camera, and in your own words, your pitch as to why he should hire you.
Why should we pick? This is actually not an easy question to answer. I believe that I should be picked because I do possess the necessary base experience to do it correctly, as well as qualifications to ensure that I will grow within this job to meet my employer's standards. That would probably be it.